Hello everyone, I'm Linda and welcome to Cottage and Crime Time. If you enjoy this video, please like it and subscribe. I will really appreciate it. If you have subscribed, thank you so much. Just a quick disclaimer, this video is for educational and entertainment purposes only. Please do your own research and form your own opinions. The sources I've used will be linked down below. So today we are going to America. It is the 1800s. Europeans come to make a new life for themselves. The frontier is created and subsistence farms are at the order of the day. There's also goods being traded off of each other. So we have the Wilde family. Now Laura Wilde is the author of Little House on a Prairie, the television series, and it was also books. I'm not here to ruin that story for anyone. They were a family, they were a wholesome family, and they did portray the Wild West, the frontier, as a place where if you worked hard and you had a pure heart, you would have success. And they lived there, and that is what happened to them. The author Laura would actually say at a book signing that she knew of the Benders and that her dad was actually involved in trying to catch them. So there's nothing to ruin Little House on a Prairie at all. It is just that unfortunately the Benders also lived in the frontier and the Wilds knew of them in the end. They didn't know them as friends or anything like that, but they also lived in the frontier. So let's just imagine a woman named Julia Hester. She is wearing a long skirt, she's wearing a blouse, a brooch, and she's at a sunbonnet, and she's on a stagecoach. And she is going to the Bender cottage. Sleep over and get a reading from the daughter of the house, a psychic reading. She gets there, she gets off. John Jr. probably takes the suitcases in and she steps inside the cottage. The stagecoach have left, and she is greeted by an awful smell. And something strange is going on, and there's all these flies. She all of a sudden realizes just how isolated this cottage is. She goes for a scheduled reading with Kate. Kate takes her hands and says she must close her eyes. But then she feels the doom looming again, and she opens her eyes. And behind Kate, the other three members of the Bender family stood. John Jr. had a big tool in his hands. She is very frightened and she runs away. She bolts. When she finally gets to the neighbors, she tells them what happened, and they say, "Oh, that is strange," but they don't see anything criminal in it. Maybe they even thought that, oh, you had a psychic reading, you were just imagining things, so nothing came of it. So the saga of the Bender family starts in 1870. So we have John Sr., John Jr., the wife, and the daughter Kate. The wife's name is Elvira. So they are a family of four, and they lived in this one-bedroom cottage, and they advertised it as a boarding place for travelers, and people could also buy groceries. And then Kate, the daughter, could give you a psychic reading as well. So travelers would come and they would stay there. But people vanished. People didn't realize. It was the Wild West after all. People vanish all the time. Sometimes it's the elements. Sometimes it's disease. Some people even want to create new identities for themselves. So in the beginning, no one noticed. Only when a very important politician, William York, York's brother, disappeared, something happened. You went to the Bender cottage because now you also have to remember it's the 1800s. So communication and where people vanished, that's also not clear. But he goes to the Bender cottage because he knows his brother stayed there, and he finds the family to be very hostile. He, however, doesn't have any reason to suspect them. And again, I think the fact that they were a family, husband and wife and son and daughter, didn't make him question things too much. So he then went away. Little did he know that on that very evening, they would bolt. He only came back a month later, and they find the cottage completely abandoned. Okay, if you hear a barking, it's my dog. I'm just going to go. Okay, so he goes to arrest them finally, and the cottage is completely abandoned. Inside the cottage, there's blood everywhere, there's decaying bodies, and in the orchard behind the cottage, they find 8 bodies. There were also 3 men that disappeared, and they also said that they were killed by the Bender family. Just a quick trigger warning, the next part consists of child violence, so please click away if you don't want to hear this. There was a man called George Longur, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, and he had his 18-month-old daughter with him. When they dug her body up, they didn't see any external injuries, and they said that she was probably buried alive. It is also said that they didn't just have 11 victims, that it was 21 or even more. So, again, with the Wild West, people didn't catch them. There were eyewitness accounts, there were a bounty on the heads of £2,000, but there were a lot of other unrest and things going on, and people didn't catch them. In 1889, 2 women were arrested, and they were arrested for something else, but then people started to suspect that they might be the Bender women. But it couldn't be proven, and they walked away. So the Benders were never catched. So they could have gone on with their killing spree. Maybe they had a killing spree before 1870. We will never know. What's just mind-boggling to me is that when I searched this family of serial killers, I honestly didn't think I'd find anything because I've never heard of such a thing. And then I found this and I was completely shocked. And there's more than one family like this. And I don't know how it happens. Are you sitting at dinner and saying, okay, so we have to rob people, so let's start killing people? I have absolutely no idea how that would come about. John Jr. is said to have been a bit of a dimwit, and he would start giggling and things at inappropriate moments. So maybe that would explain his participation. Maybe he was sort of coaxed into it, if that's a word. But still, the other 3, I mean, how do these people meet each other? I mean, it's also speculated that they weren't really related, maybe, or that there was incest going on, but nonetheless, they portrayed themselves as this family. Whichever way, it's just awful, chilling, and gruesome. And the fact that these travelers wouldn't have seen anything coming because it's a family. Who would expect a mother, father, and a son and a daughter to do such a thing? So that's how they got their victims. And it's pretty gruesome. So thank you so much for watching. I really hope to see you next week. Goodbye.